It is Saturday, May 30th, 2026, and this is The High Road, Logistics and Leadership. I'm Buck Reynolds, and I'm just here to make sure these young guns don't drive the industry off a cliff.
I'm Dan Miller.
This is Elena Rossi.
And I'm Jules Sterling. We have a great show for you today.
Well, the coffee is hot in the operations room today, folks, and the news cycle is even hotter. Yesterday, we really got into the weeds on Scania's new megawatt charging. Dan, I think you're still trying to figure out how to sell grid-to-vehicle power back to the utility companies, right?
Bottom line, Buck, it's a profit center.
Yeah, well, Elena was giving us the reality check on the UK's preparedness crisis, or lack thereof, and we touched on that gut punch of a bankruptcy with Standard Forwarding. Today, we're shifting gears. We've got a solid mix of trade wars, big money investments in Mexico, and I guess the robots are finally taking over the BMW plant in Germany?
It's a busy one.
It really is. Alina, here's the deal. You've been tracking this Section 301 stuff with Vietnam. What's the play here?
Well, Buck, if I may, it looks like the U.S. trade representative is taking the gloves off. Yesterday, Ambassador Jameson Greer officially launched a Section 301 investigation into Vietnam's intellectual property practices. Actually, this wasn't exactly a surprise if you were reading the Special 301 report back in April, but the speed of the escalation is, notable.
Look, it's the China Plus One strategy hitting a brick wall. Everyone moved their sourcing to Vietnam to dodge the China tariffs,
Exactly. My retail clients have been moving furniture and electronics production to Hanoi for the last 3 years to find some breathing room.
Well, that breathing room just got very expensive, potentially. You see, the USTR is targeting online piracy, counterfeit goods, and unlicensed software. But in the world of trade policy, Section 301 is essentially the precursor to the tariff word. We're looking at a potential 25% wall if Vietnam doesn't shape up their IP enforcement by the July 2nd deadline for public comments.
It's always something, isn't it? We spent 30 years building these supply chains, and now we're just plain whack-a-mole with the sourcing. My thing is, if we move it from Vietnam, where does it go? Cambodia? Thailand?
Bottom line, Buck, the safe harbor doesn't exist anymore. But look, there's a flip side. The U.S. and Taiwan just finalized that deal we've been hearing about. Effective retroactive to May 1st, they've capped those Section 232 duties on Taiwanese aircraft components at 15%.
Oh, that's huge for the aerospace guys I talked to.
Right. It's a trade-off. We're leaning into Taiwan for strategic tech while putting the squeeze on Vietnam for IP. It's a high-stakes chess game, and the freight forwarders are the ones having to move the pieces under fire.
I suppose. But you have to look at the compliance risk. If you're a carrier or a 3PL and you're suddenly moving goods that are under investigation, your documentation has to be bulletproof. One slip up on the country of origin marking, and you're looking at a seizure, not just a fine.
Same as it ever was. Always the paperwork that gets you. Speaking of moving things, Jules, you were looking at what Big Brown is doing south of the border?
Yes, and this is actually a really exciting shift. UPS just announced a $50 million investment to basically transform their North American air freight, or NAF, capabilities in Mexico.
50 mil? That's a serious ante.
It really is, Dan. They're targeting the automotive and industrial sectors specifically. The goal is to provide a sort of, an easy button for nearshoring. Starting in August, they're offering 1, 2, and 3-day heavy air freight service to and from Mexico.
Oh, heavy air freight? Look, you can't fit a dry van's worth of engine blocks on a plane without it costing a fortune. My thing is there actually enough volume to justify $50 million in infrastructure?
Well, UPS thinks so. They're hiring 300 subject matter experts specifically for this. Think about it, Buck. With all the volatility we just talked about in Vietnam, companies are moving their production to Monterey and Querétaro. But they can't always wait for a truck to clear the bridge at Laredo when a line is down in Michigan.
Look, it's the just-in-case model evolving, right? UPS is moving upstream, right? They want the B2B volume before it even thinks about becoming a last-mile delivery. They're playing the long game on Mexico's industrial boom.
From a risk perspective, this is actually, quite smart. Using air freight for high-value automotive components reduces the dwell time where cargo theft is most likely to occur. We've seen the reports of hijackings on the highways in central Mexico. If you can fly over the trouble, you're not just saving time, you're saving the insurance premium.
Exactly, Elena. And they're integrating it with their global tracking. It's about visibility. My clients aren't just buying space on a plane. They're buying the certainty that they won't have to tell a VP that their assembly line is idle for the third day in a row.
I made those calls. They aren't fun. Sorry, sir. The truck is stuck behind a herd of goats in San Luis Potosí.
Haha, been there.
Hey, before we move on to the market numbers, I wanted to take a quick second to mention, the reason we're even able to keep the lights on in this high-tech studio.
Oh yeah, here's the play.
This show is powered by the stack developed by Eric Christensen at Neural Network Media. Strategic logistics requires world-class engineering, and Eric is the architect behind the code that keeps our analysis sharp and our broadcast clear. If you value what we do here, please consider supporting him. You can visit patreon.com/neuralnetworkmedia for a free trial. You'll also get access to our daily briefing PDF, which honestly is a lifesaver when you're trying to keep track of these tariff changes.
It really is. Eric's a good man. Support the architect, folks.
All right, let's talk shop. Buck, I know you love the iron side of the business. The ACT research numbers just dropped for the used Class 8 market.
Give it to me, Dan. I heard retail volume was down in April.
It was down about 3.3% month over month. But here's the kicker. That's actually a win.
A win? How do you figure?
Because the historical seasonal drop for April is usually 11%. So falling only 3 points? That's pricing resilience written in neon lights. The average retail price for a used Class 8 actually improved 4.2% in April. We're looking at an average price of $59,122.
Sheesh. Nearly 60 grand for a used unit? That's stiff. I mean, here's the deal. Auction volumes fell off a cliff, right? Down 52%?
Totally normal for the start of a quarter, Buck. But the wholesale activity was up 6%. Bottom line, freight growth is still enticing guys to buy equipment. Even with diesel prices being a total roller coaster because of the Middle East, carriers are still putting money into fleet replacement.
Actually, Dan, we should be careful with that optimism. While the truck market looks durable, the rail sector is, it's in a bit of a regulatory quagmire. The Surface Transportation Board, the STB, just gave conditional approval to the Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern merger.
Wait, they said yes? I thought the regulators were allergic to more consolidation.
They said yes, but they've paused the procedural schedule, and they are demanding data on 9 critical areas. We're talking environmental impacts, labor protections, and most importantly, the competitive impact on specific shipping lanes.
So it's not a done deal?
Far from it. The STB is essentially saying, we'll let you do this, but you have to prove it won't be a catastrophe for the smaller shippers. It's the biggest rail merger attempt in decades, and the oversight is, frankly, it's intense.
Look, if UP and NS actually pull this off, the rail map of North America is fundamentally rewritten. You're talking about a duopoly in the West and a powerhouse in the East merging into, a monster.
Great. Just what the owner-operator wants to hear. Fewer options, higher rates, and more precision-scheduled railroading. That's about as precise as a blindfolded dart throw.
Precise language as always, Buck. But seriously, the environmental data they're asking for? That's the real hurdle. They want to know exactly how much more idling we're going to see in urban hubs.
Which brings us right back to air quality and ESG scores for the shippers. It's all connected.
It sure is. But you know what else is connected? Cables and servos. Dan, you mentioned robots. I'm looking at this story out of Leipzig, Germany, and I don't know. I might need a drink after this one.
Buck's favorite topic, the Leipzig moment.
Yeah. Here's the deal. BMW has officially moved past the testing phase with humanoid robots. They've deployed these things. They call them AEON robots at their European production lines. This isn't some North American pilot anymore. This is global operations.
And these aren't those big orange arms bolted to the floor, right?
No, these are bipedal, physical AI agents. They're about 5.5 feet tall, weigh 130 pounds, and they've got these high dexterity hands. BMW partnered with Hexagon Robotics out of Sweden. They're working in brownfield environments. Now, Alina, you'll love this part. They didn't move a single wall. They just dropped the robots into spaces designed for humans.
Actually, that is the most terrifying part from a risk management perspective. In a traditional factory, you have caged robotics. You know where the robot is. It's behind a fence. If the fence is breached, the power cuts. In a brownfield deployment, you have 130-pound machines with millimetric precision hands walking the same floor as Hans and Klaus.
Look, BMW says they're doing high-voltage battery assembly. That's dangerous work for humans anyway, right? Dealing with EV battery modules it's volatile.
And that's the strategy, right? They've set up a center of competence for physical AI. They want these robots to be multifunctional. Today, they're assembly line workers. Tomorrow, they might be moving components in the warehouse or doing quality checks on the exterior.
My thing is, how does a robot know when something feels wrong? I spent 27 years in a cab, and I could tell you if a wheel bearing was going just by the way the vibration felt in my seat. Can a silicon worker tell if a bolt is stripping?
Hexagon says they can, Buck. The tactile sensors on these AEON units are supposed to be more sensitive than human fingertips. Bottom line, BMW is trying to solve the labor shortage in Germany. They can't find enough people to work the third shift, so they're building them.
It's a retail dream, honestly. If you can automate the entire assembly and logistics chain, your lead times shrink. You don't have to worry about shift changes or human fatigue.
You just have to worry about physical AI making a catastrophic decision during a battery fire. Who's liable? The robot manufacturer, the software developer, or BMW? We are entering a legal vacuum where the operator is a line of code.
When the operator glitches and drops a 500-pound battery pack, I don't want to be the guy with the broom.
Look, it's happening whether we like it or not. BMW's Leipzig plant is just the first domino. If it works there, you're going to see these things in every major distribution center in North America by 2030.
Well, as long as they don't learn how to double clutch, maybe my legacy is safe. But man, seeing a robot walk a factory floor, it just doesn't sit right with me. Here's the deal. Logistics was always about the people. The handshake, the driver, the guy on the dock. We're losing that.
We're evolving it, Buck. We're still here, right?
Yeah, for now. Well, that's all for today's High Road. From BMW's new robot workforce to the trade tensions in Vietnam and the resilient truck market, it's clear the industry's moving faster than a downhill haul with a light load. We're watching these humanoid pilots closely, not because we're ready to welcome them, but because we need to know who's really at the wheel.
See ya.
Stay safe.
Bye.
And remember, if you see a robot on the highway, don't try to wave. It doesn't have a soul to wave back with.